I was watching back one of my videos, and I'm like, dude, I've been getting so wordy lately. I've been becoming like the little presenter boy. Dude, let's take that mask off, huh? Let's get a little bit raw. So I was talking on stream today about like interest in seasons, right? And by today, it was yesterday, technically. And if you want to join in the streams, currently I was doing some dual stream experimentation, and there's a lot of kinks I need to figure out first before I go full dual stream. So you're just going to want to join me over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. As it stands now, streams are in the morning time. It's just easier for me that way. But something that I brought up was like interests, and how my interests, I realized, have changed over these past couple of years and months even. And I find myself going back to specific titles. When I first got the Xbox Series S, which, man, the PC is reminding me how great that machine is. When I first got that, I was really interested in discovering everything that it had to offer me. But as time went on, I kind of was like, whatever. Those bright, flashy colors kind of just like faded. Even though I had the white one, so it's not that flashy. And now I'm like finding myself drawn to like different things, but there's a term that is used quite a bit in my circles, in the Christian circles, the term seasons. I understand that it's not just something that people who are of faith use, but it's a concept that I really, really have learned to have to embrace. This past year, my son is now 1.5, which is crazy, but this past year, my son was born 18 months ago, and it challenged me as a human. It didn't just challenge me as a man, as a father, as a husband. It challenged me as a human. It challenged me to become different. It challenged me to think different. It challenged me to accept not just insecurities, but incapabilities, to be more resilient in some ways and to relent in others, to ask for help more, and to, complain less. But most of all, what it taught me was that I am human, and that also time does continue on. I learned that both in a good way and a bad way. The bad first, I learned that I can be sad, mad, uncomfortable, depressed, all of the above, and time will continue to move. I can either be a part of what's happening in front of me or seclude myself and allow for my circumstances to overwhelm me so much so that I pretty much just pass or miss everything that is happening around me. And there were many months where I just would lock myself in my office or my bedroom after my wife got home from work and basically just hide from life that was being a new father of two. For someone who doesn't have kids or who isn't married or whatever, I understand that this may fall on flat ears, but to be honest, the audience that I'm realizing I talk to a lot are people who are in a similar life stage as I, maybe even a similar season as I once was or as I currently am now. But just having that conversation about video games this morning on stream, which has been such a beautiful thing. Waking up that early has been kind of hard, but it is a pretty rewarding thing to be able to stream and connect with the audience and have a good time doing that. Finished up Indiana Jones. It's over now, so no more Indy. Moving on to the next one, and you guys can be a part of streams to figure out what that is, but that's something that we're going to be continuing forward. I was thinking, though, that, things change, and in this space, particularly the position that I hold and the job I have, changing isn't something that is wildly accepted. You go from being an Xbox fan to a PlayStation fan, you're going to be very much so accused of whatever it may be by the masses. But in real life, change happens. You can either roll with it or you can't. When my son was born, there was a huge change in our house. The dynamic of our home completely shifted. We went from being a home of one to a home of two, a home of a single daughter to now a daughter and a son, a home of having children who sleep through the night to now having to start that whole process all over again. And I wasn't ready. And I don't think that I wasn't ready because I was not prepared. I don't think I was ready because I wasn't ready to allow for change to take place. And with gaming, I've realized that there's been a lot of my life, like in the gaming space, intentionally fleeing or running to things that I find to be more comfortable, which is such a huge thing that you can extrapolate and apply to so many different aspects of your life. Comfort isn't bad. I think comfort is good. Having things that are safe, having experiences that you can predict, having different levels of, I've been running this Amber Cup for a while, having different levels of, different activities that you can do that are familiar, I think are good. I know for me, doing things like playing video games, playing Mario games have been absurdly comforting. But allowing myself to kind of experience something different has been a learning process in my own hobby, but also been a learning process in life itself. Like the first year of my son being born, I had just come out of a very similar state when my daughter was born. I didn't do well. I very much so didn't do well with the different things like the screaming that kids do, the unpredictable nature of a 2-year-old, and all of these different things, the messiness. You see, I have late diagnosed ADHD, and I can easily get overstimulated. Part of the reason why certain things look a certain way, or I gravitate towards certain hobbies or even clothes, is because I know that when I put this shirt on, this same black t-shirt every day, I if you saw my closet, you would see 5 oversized Carhartt tees and 6 average-sized extra large black undershirts. I wear them every day, not because I'm one of those people who's like, lack of decision, right? This is the thing that some people do. They wear the same clothes every day for decision making. No, I wear them every day because it's one less thing in my everyday life that I feel like I have to be concerned about. It's not a decision. I don't mind decisions. I like dressing different things and being funky in different ways. But wearing a black t-shirt that fits well, that I know fits well, is something I don't have to necessarily think about. I don't have to feel it. I don't have to wonder, is this something that I, look okay in? And these are things that my brain does as someone who is overstimulated very easily. There are aspects of my life that can get extremely overwhelming very quickly. Not cripplingly overwhelming, because life won't stop for someone who is overwhelmed. That's something I learned very, very quickly as an adult. Life doesn't stop because you just can't. If you just can't, then you just won't. And if you just won't, someone else will. And if someone else will, then you will not be able to. Life will not stop for anybody. Time does not stop. Time is always moving. And this is something for me that I realize as life has gone on, I'm like, well, because time is always moving, then I need to make sure that every aspect of my life that I interact with is something that I can continue to move forward in. And so I found that with the idea of seasons, the idea of moving in a direction and allowing for, whether it's uncomfortable nature or sedentary life or whatever it may be, for those pockets and those moments, whether it's a day, a month, a year, to take place. Like it's okay to have a momentary segment of your life be something that would be considered to be unproductive. Not because you need a break, but rather it's simply just a season. Now, when a season becomes a lifestyle, that's a very, very different thing. When laziness, or let me rephrase that, when a season of rest turns into a lifestyle of laziness, you have yourself a bigger issue. And towing the line between allowing for things to happen and just being apathetic are things that I think I'm learning as a father and husband. I'm learning about my own hobbies, that specific aspects of my hobbies, because my hobbies are my job, I find, I lost myself in the identity of a hobby, right? Allowing the hobby to define who I was rather than the hobby to be the thing that I do as a pastime. Highly don't recommend letting your hobby define you. Super not helpful. If you love to be leatherworking, do not be the leather worker. That is not who you are. You are not the leather worker. You are still James who likes leatherworking. Like, that's fine. You are your first name first. Maybe if you want to be defined by, I could be defined by being a father, a husband, sure. But I'm still JD. Now, as JD, I have kids, I have a wife, and those things are things that I do. And I want to be remembered by my legacy that I leave with my family. But I'm not defined by the things I do, right? I am not a Nintendo guy. I am not a PC gamer. And I've mentioned that many a time here. And I've gotten lost in that sauce. And I realized that the interests that occupy the mind at a certain moment, those interests are okay to allow to encapsulate a hobby or to take over a hobby, but don't feel obligated to, when those interests waver or when those interests shift, to be like, you know what, maybe it's just now onto something else. Now, being flippant and indecisive, two things that I've struggled with my whole life as someone with ADHD, like those are also things to check, and that's why introspection is so unbelievably important. And hopefully these conversations trigger introspection, and rather than obsession. I think that obsession is maybe something that can easily get triggered by conversations like these, but rather thinking of, okay, I do this thing and I like this thing and it makes me feel good. And then at the end of the day or the end of the moment or whatever it may be like, but why did it make me feel good? Oh, it's because I liked Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because of nostalgia, as well as the fact that it was very, very checkboxy, but it wasn't egregious to the point of just like pointlessness in my experience. Other people may have an exactly opposite experience. But for me, those types of things are the reasons why I like that. Now, why do I like the checkbox? Well, it's a feeling of completion. And this is something I don't get to feel often. I don't get to feel like I complete things because ADHD limits that feeling for me. And so getting to the end of something is really challenging for me. And while I may not receive any sort of dopamine release from getting to the end of the project, knowing that that is something that is normal, right? To finish something, that gives me the dopamine release. Not that I actually completed the task, but rather I am able to do something that other people seem to be able to do easier than me. That is what feels good. So today, oddly enough, and by today I mean yesterday, I came home and I was like, I got so much stuff to do. My son and I, it's just us today. My daughter's at preschool. And so I was working on something and I was like, okay, I need to work out. He's preoccupied. And I look in my garage, and in the back corner of my garage, something that had been sitting there for literally 6 months was a replacement hopper, chip hopper, as well as complete auger and fire pot for my Traeger. So I like to barbecue. I would consider myself someone who is an amateur barbecuer. I would love to learn more about barbecue. And hey, Traeger, I will literally sell just about every ad spot that you ever want if you want to send me your $3,400 Timberline XL series smoker. Send it my way, baby. I will do it. Give me your Timberline XL series. I will freaking go crazy, okay? Not the Pro, the Timberline XL series, dude. I will have streams where I will do a 12-hour stream. Traeger, guys, help me make this happen. I will do a 12-hour stream where the whole stream is outside with a meat cam. I will put a meat cam, dude. I'll figure it out because I don't know how that's going to work with heat, but I'll do a meat cam. Timberline extra large, the $3,500 one. I think it's the Timberline. That's the one. Please, Traeger. Anyway, I was outside replacing the hopper, the fire pot, and the auger to my Traeger because there was an issue. It had shorted out, and it sent me basically everything except for the barrel. If you don't know what a Traeger is, go ahead and look it up. A Traeger is a barbecue. And so it's a big barrel with a mechanism on the side that shoves wood chips or wood pellets into a fire pot that you can control the temperature there. And so I had been dreading doing this for a long time because I don't have a socket set. And without the socket set, I couldn't completely take it apart. And so as I'm sitting there going like, I should work out, ADHD does its beautiful thing where it goes, no, you should do this project instead. And so instead of working out, I decided that I would do this project, and I completely disassembled my Traeger. I completely wiped down any grease buildup because there had been some. And then I reassembled the Traeger with the new auger, the new fire pot, the whole mechanism, brand spanking new, installed it. I was missing that socket set, so I literally used an adjustable wrench, pliers, and then there were plumbers outside of my home that were working on. I ran over to them because I have no boundaries as someone who doesn't work in the conventional workspace. And I said, hey, do you guys have a 7/16 socket that I could borrow for just like 3 minutes? And they're just looking at me like, oh, okay, why? I'm like, I'm trying to take apart and put back together my Traeger. And they're like, yeah, okay, here you go. And so I completely did it. I adjusted, did it, and fixed the whole Traeger thing, and now it works. A-okay. Perfect. And I'm actually pretty stoked about it because now that I got that task done, it felt good. And it didn't feel good because I completed the task. It felt good because it was something that had been looming, had been sitting on my brain for months and months and months. I had looked at it and said, I just can't do it. And the feeling, that dopamine release that was released once I finished the project wasn't from the release of, oh my gosh, I did something. It was because, it's no longer here in front of me. I was able to clear it out. I was able to get this out of here. It's not taking up space in my garage, and I'm not being reminded every single day of my incapabilities of getting a task done because I have this really weird brain thing that says, hey, you know that thing you want to do? Cheers, you're not gonna do it. And for a brief moment, I felt normal. I felt like, hey, a normal person would just get it, install it, and you're good to go. And I was like, sweet. And those are the things that I find myself gravitating towards. What was on my hand? In video games, the things that are like, oh, I know that this game that I've played 150 times, I can get through because it's not going to challenge me in a way that will get me to move aside and put it in the back part of the garage and let it sit for 6.5 months. Hello, Black Myth Wukong, a game that I enjoyed every single minute of, but got to a hyper challenging part. And now that it's challenging, i.e. the socket set I didn't have, I have set it off to the side, and people are like, you should just finish your games. And I look you dead in the eye, and you know what I want to say to you, right? Nothing mean, nothing egregious, nothing insulting. This is the only thing I want to say. I would love to. It's not going to happen. Not because I don't like the game. No, very much so like the game. But because I've hit a sticking point that requires an effort that is far past what I am used to. And this is something that I realize when it comes to my tastes in video games, that there has been a shift. And that shift isn't because things are difficult, things are challenging, things are hard. That shift is because I, as someone who is enjoying video games, am allowing myself to leave comfort. I'm allowing myself to leave Super Mario World for the 78th time, although I do play it quarterly. I'm allowing myself to leave the Nintendo Switch, which literally had become a comfort object to me. I would have a panic attack. I'd grab the Switch and play games on it because of how comforting that experience was. I'm allowing myself to leave that space and explore other avenues of my hobby, right? And again, this isn't this is video games, for goodness sakes. You can fill in the blank with whatever hobby you have, but I'm allowing myself to just be in a different space. And it's because of this concept of season, right? This idea, which is completely contrary to what the internet wants me to do. And as someone who is trying to make a profession out of the freaking internet, which is, I cannot recommend you stay away from that idea. It is so unbelievably challenging to do that if you're not someone who's willing to rinse, lather, repeat. If you don't rinse, lather, repeat, it's just not going to happen for you. And part of the reason why I get stuck in my loops of talking about something over and over again is because it's a rinse, lather, repeat mechanism. And if I don't do that, then it doesn't feed a system, and that system is what actually feeds the family. So it's a very, very bizarre place to be, how I do feel like me being here in this space is important to have conversations with other gamer dads out there and be like, yo, I see you. But in the same token, on the same coin, it's like having those conversations are wildly different. We can talk about our obsessions with manga, which is going to be an episode because I started reading One Piece and holy smoke, that is such a cool story. But One Piece conversations about manga is not going to hit the same person as someone who's like, I just bought a Steam Deck because I'm really interested in playing PC games. Well, there might be crossover. I'm not saying that there isn't, but it's just that kind of thing doesn't quite work. But processing out loud and having conversations with yourself, and by me saying it with myself, and literally I'm talking to a camera, which I'm pretending is you, but it's not you because you're not here in this office with me, is really cathartic in a lot of ways. And I call friends often and I say, hey, I have this idea I'd like to flesh out. I'm not really looking for advice, but I need to say the words out loud. And saying them out loud in my living room to myself just makes me feel like a crazy person. I am becoming more and more incapable of thinking inside my head, and speaking the words out loud actually helps me process. And so in sharing all this, what I really am getting at here is there's so much happening all the time. And to be someone who is like, no, I'm going to refuse any sort of change. I'm going to either be stuck in something horrible, right? Whether it's sickness, pain, physical or mental, anything. Relationship issues, family issues, identity issues, whatever it may be, I'm going to sit in it and I'm not going to see the end. The end is very simple. It's that it will. It will end. Now, there isn't going to be a definitive time. I can't say that every single issue that you go through is going to take 3 months and 4 days to finish. But what I can say is this, because that would change depending on if it's a 30 or 31 day. Imagine if it's 3 months and 4 days, but you start in February. And then the next person is supposed to be 3 months and 4 days, but they start in freaking March. It's going to be shorter. It's going to be weird, right? Bizarre. Weird concept. No, I'm simply saying that just the statement alone that someone said, I said it today and someone's like, you should make a cup about this. I'm like, you're so right. The idea of seasons is such a powerful, liberating, and encouraging thing that exists. If you're in one that is particularly challenging, you think to yourself, well, this is something that will at some point be different. And please, for the love of everything that is holy, the words, this too shall pass, are so overdone. And I really do try my best to limit the amount of cliches that exist. While sentiments are very much so appreciated, the sentiment of this too shall pass surely is being, talked about here. I try to stay away from it because when you hear words like, hey, this too shall pass, or, if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger, you get to a point. I think we're at a point now where there's only so much Kelly Clarkson we can take when we're going and having a bad day. And even that song, well, you have a bad day. Like, I think that just maybe changing the words a little bit helps. It's like that athlete. And I've been that athlete, and I've had that athlete who you tell every single day they're trying to get weight overhead, right? I was a weightlifting trainer. They're trying to get the clean and jerk overhead, and you're just like, you have to drive off the shoulders and you have to shoot underneath. You have to drive off the shoulders, you got to shoot underneath. Drive off the shoulders and split the feet, shoot underneath, right? Punch your arms up, right? All these things. And they, for one day, go over to a buddy's gym, and then they're working with their buddy's coach. And the buddy's coach says, you just got to get underneath and punch your arms up, right? And they come back to you, and they hit that weight that you've been training them on for months on end. And they go, dude, and you go, what happened? That looks great. And he goes, you know what? I heard you just have to punch your arms up, and you want to strangle them. And sometimes you do. That is exactly how I feel about cliches when it comes to bad times. Hearing it won't kill you, make you stronger. I have heard it 150 times. I need another coach to tell me something different, or say the same thing but different, like, yeah, it's going to be tough and it's going to look impossible, but on the other side, it may be something that you can learn from, right? And that seems like it's even way worse, but really just hearing those words could be the encouragement someone needs. And so that's why I kind of try to stay away from idioms the best I can. because there are so many out there. I was about to say a dime a dozen. See what I did there? I changed it. And I like using idioms. I do. I like saying silly, goofy things, and that mean weird things. I enjoy it. But it doesn't change the fact that as time continues to move forward, it never will stop. As you continue to either get older you'll only get older. If you're getting younger, please call me personally and be like, yo, I'm getting younger. It's kind of like that Mitch Hedberg joke. I was talking about someone comes up to you and says, hey, here's a picture of me when I was older. And he's like, hey, every picture of you is when you're older. And then he's like, yeah, well, there's a picture of me when I was younger. Oh, wait, no. Wait, other way around. Scratch that. Reverse it. Right, here's a picture of me when I was younger. And he's like, oh, here's a picture of you when you're younger. He's like, yeah, well, here's a picture of me when I'm older. He's like, oh, where the F did you get that camera, right? Like, I love that. But it's the same idea here. It's like time is always going to move forward. You're always going to get older. In moments that pass are moments that are now memories. And so as time passes and moments become, the present becomes a memory, how many of those memories that are existing are ones you can either A, recall on if you have sound mind, or B, memories that you want to recall, right? Even in the direst and the worst of times, something that is just terrible happening. I mean, I went through an event in my life that was pretty damaging physically, mentally, and emotionally. And those things I look back on in the memories I have. One in particular is I was incapable of moving off of my couch because I had pretty severe damage to my leg after my car accident. And being on the couch, after being somebody who works out all the time, I could remember that as being immobile and in pain and upset and angry. You know, two different feelings. Upset being emotionally moved and angry being aggressively, feeling towards someone else. But I don't remember feeling those, though I probably did. I remember nervousness, anticipation, anxious, and frustration. And every single one of those memories is tied to one specific activity. And it was Fortnite. I started playing Fortnite immediately after I got in my car accident. Not because I wanted to, because I was like, oh, now it's time to play Fortnite, but rather because another person who got in the accident with me was like, hey, I'm at home playing Fortnite. Why don't you play with me? And we can talk to each other while playing Fortnite. And that was the birth of a very, very special time for me. A moment where, I can remember it so vividly. I remember playing Fortnite with my buddy, and then the John Wick event came out, and we played the John Wick event. And then the first movie I went to go see post accident, and I walked, and I was able to walk, and I got to the theater, and I sat through it. I walked out. I was hobbled out. I was, hobbling pretty heavily because sitting for that long with that leg hurt. I'm sorry for the little jump here. Camera decided to shut off. I remember that moment so powerfully. It was my first time out, my first time doing a thing, and it was such a magical moment. My buddy and I ended up actually dressing exactly the same on accident, and it was a pretty cool moment for me, a really cool moment for me, and I won't forget it. And those things are moments that I have, memories I have that are tied to a time in my life that would be considered a very, very challenging and difficult season. And so when it comes to just something as arbitrary as gaming, as playing video games, I think that allowing yourself to change interests, to do something different, if you want to try something new, whatever it may be, I think that is a really, really cool thing to allow yourself to do, because it translates to so many other aspects of your life. It doesn't just stick with something as completely and utterly arbitrary. I feel like gaming as a whole, talking about life and how powerful certain things can be, I feel like gaming seems like it's just like out of place in the conversation. But I mean, you get it, right? You're here because you get it. And so this is a thought I had while, having that conversation over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. As I said, I do plan on multi-streaming full disclosure, and I want to make sure that this is something that is super transparent. I am actively pursuing a living doing this, and so I'm trying to find the best way to maximize every avenue, whether it is streaming here or over on my other channel that could be very targeted and have very specific audience so that I'm not mixing the two. I want to make sure that the decisions I make when it comes to creating content, because it's already so all over the place, have some thread of consistency. And so while dual streaming is something that I inevitably will fully implement, as it stands now, the only consistency in places that will have games and streaming and conversations live will be on that Twitch platform. Once I figure out how it's going to be managed and pursued, then I will go ahead and let you guys know, and then you can figure it out from there. But that's how I feel about all of it. If you're listening to this only, there was nothing to watch. I made an AeroPress coffee. It was delicious. It was yummy. I don't even know what coffee I used, if I'm being honest with you, so I apologize in advance for not having the recipe there for you. All I know is it's a 15-gram dose of 250 grams of water, and then I do the standard, 20-second bloom at double whatever it was. So it was like 30 grams of water on that, and then I just go and fill it up to 250. Let it sit, agitate at 130, press out at 2. And that's what I got. I got this 4th cup of coffee for me. So at this point, I'm going to shut it down, go work out. Hopefully my son doesn't wake up for another, 45 minutes so I can get a good pump going, and then get after the rest of the things I have to do today. Because it never stops for us dads. I see you. I see you. Just know. I see you, Papa. You're there. I can see you on the other side. It doesn't stop for us. It's exhausting. That's okay. That's okay. Stay up late, play video games, enjoy your hobby, be sleep deprived, be baggy-eyed, sip on coffee, rinse, lather, repeat. But most of all, make good memories. Because at the end of our life, all we have are our memories. So why waste those precious, precious slots we have with anything that is bad? You don't lose, you learn. That is it. You only win and you only learn. Losing is not an option. It never has to be. You guys are awesome. Thanks again. I'll see you around. Play more. Be kind. Go and hug and kiss someone you love. Yeah, even if it's your favorite boy. Especially if it's your favorite boy. Normalize kissing the boys. All right. I'm out of here. Bye.